Alright, ladies and gentlemen, just like the last full motorcycle build I did recently, the VLX build, we don't need to do all this unnecessary unboxing. Y'all already know how it goes. The only thing I do want to fully unbox right now is our big old box of battery cells. And the main reason I even want to do that is because we're messing with new cells. I've always told myself for any of my battery builds, I'm more likely going to go straight to Molly cell, the P42A specifically. But I came across these cells due to a company that makes batteries for the Surron. I was wondering how are they able to do the same configuration, but their Molly cell pack are 51 amp hour, yet this pack is a 60 amp hour. Well, that's because they were using the Samsung 50S, which is what we got in this box. Now, I may go into a little more detail about the Samsung 50S about the end when this build is done, but the first thing I will say is it's packing more amp hours, and that's what's most important for this build. Now, not to waste any more time, but one more thing I want to say and mention that I feel is pretty important, and that is the fact that I'm taking on a new challenge here. Now, it's not quite the same challenge as the last battery build, seeing that the last battery build was using damn near 600 cells, which ended up being a 93-pound battery. I'm talking about the challenge of having to make a battery in a little more of an awkward configuration to fit the Surron. And why it's important for me to mention that, because taking on this task, I ended up coming across a pretty big problem that I actually had a solution for, but I was a little scared to do said solution that would fix the problem. And because I didn't do the solution to fix the problem, I now have the reoccurring problem that's now getting a little bit worse. Which actually, if I continue to use the battery in the current state that it's in, will damage the cells if I don't attack the problem. So I thought again it would be very important for me to mention this in case any of you out there are thinking about building your first battery specifically for the Surron. Let's just say these little plastic cell holder adapters you see me unpackaging. You're going to need the correct cell holders for your Surron build for a very specific reason that you will see near the end of the video. But with all that out the way, let's finally get into this build. So now we're at the point where it's time to chop up this copper to make our connections from the negative to the positive. But this is where the problem comes in. So let's talk about it. Now really the problem is only because of one major thing. And that is the cell holders that I decided to use. Now these cell holders I use all the time. I've used them for my previous 2 battery builds and I get them straight off of Amazon. And the problem with these cell holders is, as you can see, they have these square pieces sticking out because those keep the cell in place. But the problem with those being there is when I sit the copper on the battery cells, it wants to sit on the plastic pieces. So when I have to do any sort of spot welding, the more and more cells I spot weld to, the tighter and tighter and tighter the copper gets. It gets so tight to the point the spot weld is not even strong enough to hold it down. It gets so tight to the point that I'm not even strong enough to bend the copper down into the cell to get a spot weld going. So my first thought is it's making it even difficult with me trying to make one big solid connection from both positive to negative. So let me do it like I used to do with my old battery builds where it's just positive and negative with the skinny connection, except this time it's going to be positive to positive and then a separate connection of negative and negative. Then what I'll do after that is make a middle connection that'll be separate that will spot weld to the actual positive to negative. But the first problem that came in was the spot welder apparently could not do nickel to copper to nickel. It kept popping off. So the second solution, forget it. I just go ahead and solder it to the connections. And that ended up working, but we gotta rewind it back because I'm moving a little too fast. When I started doing the original, let's just spot weld a thin sheet of copper to positive to make those separate connections for the positive and negative, they still kept popping off. And I think that's because this being a 12 parallel battery, if you look at my first battery build ever, that was also a 12 parallel, but it was for a regular bobber build. So it was a regular long straight line. And I guess that being a long straight line of copper, a lot longer than this connection I have to make here, it had more space to move. Where this line of copper being a lot shorter, there's not as much play in it. So this is where the major issue comes in, and I had a decision to make that I was a little too scared to make, and that was saying forget it and just soldering the copper to the cells. But my problem with that is my wand's not the greatest, it's not the hottest, it's not the strongest. So sometimes when I'm trying to solder to anything, my wand will get stuck in the solder, so that keeps the heat going on the cell. Even using flux, the flux will go out real quickly before I can actually properly and evenly spread the solder where I need it to spread before it dries up too quickly or again gets the iron stuck in the solder. So I didn't want to risk using this wand and having a little too much heat being kept on these cells for so long. But I should have did it anyways because it ended up not being that bad to do or wasn't that hard to do when I soldered the middle connections to the positive and negative. I think it could have been easily the same if I did it for the cells. But I didn't do it because I was scared of, again, that problem of leaving too much heat on these cells. So I just went back to re-spot welding some of the connections that popped off, which, let me say it correctly, I'm not going to act like majority of the connections popped off. It was only a few. Majority of them actually stayed on from the first spot weld. It's just the problem of, are the connections strong because of how tight the copper is? This being a Surron, not your average e-bike, there's going to be a lot more bouncing, jittering, and slamming from wheelies going on that could make those connections go loose again. So is that going to be a problem? I wasn't sure. But regardless, the few that were giving me problems, I immediately tried to spot weld again, and I would spot weld them until they stick on, which sometimes was 2 times in a row, sometimes was 3 times in a row. And after that, I went back to just soldering the negative to positive connections on. Alright, so it is the next morning, and first thing first, like I always do, I want to go ahead and check the battery's voltage one more time. Last night we were 68.9. Let's see if we're still that. 68.9. I'm a little far away. Yep, I'm seeing correctly. So we are good on the voltage. Now that we got the battery soldered, taped up, everything ready to go, it is now time to slap some good old fish paper on this battery. So then we can finally set up the BMS. finally hooked up and soldered the BMS wires. Took a bit. Got the battery wrapped up just a tad bit to keep the BMS and wires in place. And one thing I gotta say, I'm not gonna lie, this is like the cleanest battery build that I've done. Hold up, not so fast. So obviously this being a Surron battery, we got this thing taped up. I wanted to slap on some protection for any vibration, rattling, so I slapped on some foam. But again, it's a Surron battery, so I need some way to be able to grab it and get it in and out of the Surron. So I bought this strap right here, and it just works perfectly, taped it up. But I was moving a little too fast. I got all this thick foam and stuff on, and I didn't even test fit the battery. So I said to myself, let me test fit the battery. And at the very moment, after doing all this, after spending about $1,700 on this battery, $1,600 on just the battery alone, the battery didn't fit. I damn near had a heart attack. Now, as my heart is excessively rising in BPMs, I'm trying to figure out there's got to be something I can do, because I'm just sitting here staring at my Surron, telling myself there's no way I spent hours, days, and cashes doing all this work just for this battery to not fit at all. So the only thought that came to my head was, maybe if I flip it around, it'll fit this way. And it just barely, very tight fit, it fit. So that told me, okay, sadly some of this foam is going to have to go. So I ripped it, retest fit, holy shit, it fit. So now that my BPMs are going back down, I don't have to deal with the possibility of having a heart attack. Let's get back to work, and let's get back to making this thing look pretty, because we're at that point now. Now this is the point where we'll be getting some very nice cinematics of how pretty our battery is, and we start talking about a little something I wanted to talk about, which was the cells we used. But no! I fucked up! Yeah, so remember how I was talking about, ooh, I should have soldered onto the cells, or else it might pop off if I don't? Well, guess what? The cells are popping off. There's a decent amount of groups. It feels like more groups are still connected to the copper, but a good amount of them are popping off. If I would have just soldered them on, I wouldn't have this problem. Alright, let's cut the voiceover. That's how I felt for a while until I realized there's no time for constantly yapping about it and complaining. I gotta fix the issues. As you can see, man, this is different for our battery build. We're out here on the bike with the battery in it, and we're about to do a very small ride, at least for y'all, because I'm gonna just speed it up. But long story short, in the voiceover I said a whole lot of extra, but little did I know certain things would keep reoccurring, so let me just cut to the point. Group 11 originally gave me problems, at least that's what I thought when I first charged this battery. Group 11 charged way higher than everything else, but then it didn't seem like it did anything else after that until I started driving, and Group 6 started discharging, charging way faster. It was all over the place. Group 6 got as low as 0.300 volts, lower than everything else. So that's like the rest of the group being at 3.8, Group 6 was at 3.5. So I took it to the bench after all the complaining and all that, and I started trying to figure it out. Broke the battery back down. Let's just run down the list. After fixing Group 2, it had some disconnected cells. It turns out I had 2. Group 6 had 3. Then I had to fix Group 10. Then I had to fix Group 11. Then 12. Then Group 5 and Group 14 started acting weird. No matter what group I fixed, it seemed like another group started to act up. So why am I out here? Well, I think there's still a problem. I got the range app, and I got my BMS open. Group 12 and Group 11 are acting weird again. In case I did fix anything, even if I didn't fix anything, I'm at a point of how far can I go with this battery before I can let one of those groups get too low range-wise, because I don't have money. I don't have money like that. I have to stack up money. That's why half the time I build every year. So while I have to sit on this battery, how far can I go? Yesterday I did 9.25 miles. I did do it going a little slow with an average speed of 26 to 30. I really wasn't using much power. I did have my moments where I would accelerate a little hard in gear 1, and I had my moments where I would pop it up in gear 3. I would do wheelie. So I had like quick burst moments, but I didn't have constant, doing 50 like I did the last test. That got as low as 0.331. That was a constant throttle down, 52, 53 miles per hour, all the power in gear 1. So this may be a little different simply because of that.
The volts are slowly dropping. That's because we're balancing. We're at a 0.026 volt difference.
Which I did forget to mention that last night when I did the 9 miles at lower power, I was chilling at a consistent 0.009 volts, got as low as 7, 6, until I started using more power, and that's when it went up to about 30, 40, and now we're down to 26. But pretty much, I'm going to do a ride and see if it rises higher than this 26, if it stays at the 26, or does things start to equal out.
These bees need to fuck off. Bro, do not feel like getting stung. Actually, kickstand's down. Let's just go. It's dumbass bugs, man. Fucking hate bugs. Stupid ass thing trying to go toe to toe with me. So we'll close the BMS app for now. I'm going to pull up this app. We've already done 1 mile and 23. And I'm just going to speed this whole ride up and see what happens. Hey, look at that. Little electric scooter. But, yeah. And I'm going to do my usual loop. But I'm just going to speed it up because I shouldn't even have to do this for a battery build. But I fucked up. Hey, is that another Surron? Hey. Oh, my battery's looking fucked up. Yo. He got the supermotos. You like the bike. Still gotta go. Yeah. No, it's a Surron. It's a 2023. I built the battery, but I made a few mistakes, so I'm testing it out. Appreciate it. Alright, so I'm back at the same spot I left off, and we've done an overall of 19.94 miles today. Now, my math is very terrible, but all I know is 19 plus 9 is about 28, 20-something miles. Almost 30. We still got 35%, but we do have a 0.175 volt difference. Now, I will say it's about 5 miles less, but again, doing that 24 before and having a 0.300 volt difference, I would think with 5 miles less, we would be somewhere in the 200s, which actually we're close, but we're not in it. I would expect to be in it and close to 300. That chip specifically was 0.330 volt difference. Okay, so it was trying to breach 0.4. Now our lowest group is still actually 11. Group 6 is still right there with it at 3.462, where this is 3.409. So that's nice. Oh, look at that, group 4 as well. A little bit low at 500, but you know, just. So as you can see, it seems like my only decent groups are 19, 17, 15, 13, 20, 18, 16, and 8. I could have started to fix to 8, so 8 seems to be good. 1 seems to be fine. 9 seems to be not bad, and 7. But everything else is fucked up. So pretty much, long story short, it's better, but I'll see if I can fix and patch up the rest. I'm repeating myself in case I forgot anything or said things wrong, but I want to talk about why I may have to buy or build a new battery, because no matter how much I fix this, number one, I already mentioned connections keep breaking. Even after I fix one, it seems like it breaks again, or another one breaks. I can get to the point where I take everything off. I would have to get one of these wires unsoldered or chop these wires to get the BMS off, and so I can split the battery back in half again to fix those connections back there. But it doesn't matter if they keep breaking. I think I already said this, but connection 12, I tried to solder on directly to the cell, and the solder wasn't even on the cell. I was able to take my little plastic thing and lift it, and I could see it coming off the cell. So it's like, not even the solder is working. It's all fucked up. But not only that, you see how rough the copper and nickel gets. And I might be over exaggerating here with this one I'm about to say, but what if it cuts through the tape and they start connecting and now we got big sparks? Again, that could be a little bit of an over exaggeration, but I don't know, maybe it's possible. The biggest problem, honestly, because if the connections just pop off, nothing's going to set on fire. My battery's capacity is just going to get lower and lower and lower because cells are disconnecting. So I'm going to go from a 12 parallel battery to a 9, to a 5, to a 1. But what will cause catastrophic damage to this battery, if not set it on fire, probably won't just blow up. But what stop it from working is, I just thought about this. When I'm connecting cells back to their connections, how long ago did they disconnect? Did they disconnect after I charged the full battery? So are these cells much higher than the rest? Or did they disconnect again, after I got done with the battery, a few of these cells are still sitting at 3.5. Say I'm at 12% and the cells get as low as like 3 volts or 2.9. If that went from 4 volts all the way down to 3 or 2.9, but little did I know a connection that I reconnected was at 3.5 while the rest were at 4, how low is that cell? So I'm reconnecting cells without no clue to what their capacity is at the moment because they're within the group, so I can't see them. So even if I am fixing it, am I fixing it or am I really throwing shit off? So as much as I really tried, there's a lot that can go wrong with this even if I fixed it. So I'm stuck in that rut again. My moped project, which is still sitting in the yard dead. I don't know how expensive that fix is going to be, but I know it's going to need a new battery and a few new parts after the sun and rained and rusted it up. The second project, Project SB, the original bobber, that needed a new battery after getting scammed, so that was $1,500. Then the newest project, the Honda, everybody loves to call it a Harley, but I like to call it Square Body 2.0 SB2. That needed a new controller, that was $1,100. And now this is just going to need either $1,600 if I build again, $2,500 to $2,700 if I decide to just buy. Because if I decide to just buy, I'm just going to get me a chai battery. I don't know how I always end up managing to do it, but every time I think I'm done, nope, I gotta get one more G in to pay for it. And for this one, it's gonna be the most expensive repair. Cause I'm not gonna lie, if I gotta get another battery, I'm just gonna buy. Cause I'm not risking getting them damn honeycomb cell holders off of AliExpress.
Not only am I not trying to get possibly scammed for a cheaper price, but it's still a scam. I can't fix this battery. No matter what I do, I can't fix it. It's like what they say in the streets. You can't turn a hoe into a housewife. Alright? You can't fix her. She don't want to be saved. Not only that, can I remind y'all, if you didn't see the videos, I'm about to let you know, I just got done dealing with some shit like this. My damn, the chopper, the Honda, 4 months I was trying to figure out what's wrong with the controller, trying my hardest to save it. It didn't want to be saved. I ended up having to spend thousands of dollars anyways, not thousands, just $1,100. But still, I'm not wasting my time doing that again. I already hate making these type of videos, but I gotta let y'all know what's going on. But I'm not doing that again, wasting months trying to save some, especially something that can go far more catastrophic. Shit, it's the reason I even got the Surron, because I was having the battery issue, the scam battery with the old project I built back in 2022, the first bobber, and I didn't feel like running into another project, especially while I was dealing with the battery issues with that project I just built. So I bought the Surron, something already built, pre-built, that I didn't have to build. And I ended up being very glad that I didn't do a dirt bike build and I just bought the Surron. Because my God, when I tell y'all, that project had me burnt out. The research was such a pain since that project was all over the place with its pieces. Then actually building it, then actually getting punched in the goddamn jaw with the battery issues. I feel exactly the same way right now because I just got done dealing with the controller and the new bobber, the new chopper for 4 months. So I'm burnt out right now and now I'm getting smacked in the face with this battery issue. I'm just going to buy. And looking back into my files and my phone, because apparently I didn't record me doing group 2 and 12, you know, chopping up the copper, the negative and positive connections. I'm going to show you how fucked up it looked. Apparently I didn't record it. But looking through my phone, I saw the first time I tore this battery down, took the wrap off to start doing this, was the 10th. It's the 25th right now. It's already been 2 weeks, 15 days, 2 weeks away from a month. Mind you, we're that close to a month already with pretty much zero progress. I'm not doing it. So that's enough rambling and ranting. I wanted to let y'all know what's going on, and I just had to get a little bit off my chest. But honestly, again, don't think this battery's fixable, so I rebought some stickers with my name on it and a new vinyl wrap that's slightly different than the last one that to me honestly looks better. I should have bought it in the first place. I'm probably gonna wrap the battery up just because I'm gonna roll around with this thing, but I don't want it looking all ugly like this. The wrap and the stickers probably cost like 30-40 bucks. If I'm gonna buy a whole new goddamn battery, that's gonna be enough to buy a battery and a vinyl wrap. So I like the vinyl wrap a lot, so even if I buy a chai battery, I'm wrapping that chai battery. Probably in a lot of months. I can't promise how soon or how long, but in some time, you're gonna see me pop up with a chai battery. Besides, I was hoping this battery I built would be an inch shorter. If it was an inch shorter, it'd be exactly as tall as the chai battery max or the Touring, the 72 volt. So if I get one, I'll get the exact look I want. Because I actually like the tall look. To me, it reminds me of like a gas tank. Because, you know, I got 2 motorcycles now. I need to fix one, but it looks like a gas tank to me. So I like it. It's just this one is overdone. But anyways, that's enough. If y'all enjoyed this, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. I've made you the review on this bike, even with its trashy battery. But we'll see. But I'm going to go ahead and say it one more time. Make sure you go ahead and like, comment, and hit that subscribe button to become electric with the rest of the people. Get electrified with the rest of the people. It has been and me. I'm finally out. Peace.
Wrong cell holders, cool. Should have soldered, I didn't. Those two mistakes have cost me so much fucking money. I don't get how I always end up doing such a expensive mistake for these projects, man.